All right, well, let's talk about Facebook. Facebook says it will no longer censor content in a 5-minute video by founder Mark Zuckerberg. He says that all Meta platforms are now free speech and that instead of censorship, they're going to move to community notes the same way X does it. Basically a copy and paste, like, hey, that's working over there. You guys are engaged. Here's the post. You can find it for yourself. If you can forgive this guy, go ahead. I am having a hard time with this because in this video, well, so many because I'm going to try and keep it short. In this video, he admits that there have been rules and censorship on Facebook, but he blames the Biden administration. Fully under the bus, Biden administration. Now, he says that now that Trump is taking office, he's all about free speech. Now, we can give him the teeniest bit of the pass because in the Twitter files, we saw that even though Facebook executives were asked to censor, they said, well, this is not really right, but the government won't back us and they'll come after us in terms of regulation if we don't do it. So we kind of have to. And that was the extent of their resistance. And then beyond that, it was full steam ahead, whatever the Biden administration wanted, whatever the Clinton campaign wanted, whatever the Obama era wanted, full censorship. It's been like this for over a decade. That's not how freedom works. Let's refer to founding father Thomas Jefferson on this. He said, famously, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Notice he did not say stand for freedom or free speech when it's allowed or when a pro-freedom leader is in office. No, we have to be eternally vigilant. That means you stick your neck out when freedoms are being taken. We needed him over the last 4 years, not after it was over. So while I absolutely just seethe over this, let's listen to what he says. First, he says that the conversation around censorship revolves around potential harms. Notice the word potential is big here. He's no longer trying to sell us this idea that leftists have been trying to sell us that words are violence. So that's good. Maybe that talking point is dead. Here's what he says he's going to do now.
The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse.
Okay. So we've been restricted to talk about gender and immigration. If you wanted to talk about the border crisis, that has not been allowed. If you wanted to talk about men and women's sports or misgender people or use pronouns that were not allowed, that there have been rules there. He says there won't be any more. It's starting in the United States, so be careful if you live abroad still. So remember those who said that people who claimed they were being censored were crazy? When are those apologies coming? I'd like to know. We've known this again we've known this for a long time, but we've known it especially since the Twitter files. So it's not a surprise, but it's annoying. So what does this mean now? And as for those content moderators, well, many are saying, so he's saying, no, because Facebook has had these independent fact checkers. Well, it turns out those independent people were paid heavily by Facebook, and that business now might just die. Here's what Glenn Greenwald said about it. He says there's a panic in the self-anointed disinformation and fact-checking groups that have been coerced big tech to pay them to dictate which political ideas must be removed. The post-2016 financing of this censorship industrial complex brought power and profit, but now Facebook won't pay anymore. So that's amazing. All these people who worked in disinformation. I once ran into a young girl, remember, in a bar who was like, oh, I'm moving to America to work work on disinformation. It's really important. Like, this is what young people are making their careers out of now. She had just finished university, English girl. So she's going to have to find something else to do, because this industry might just implode. You don't get to tell other people what's true and what's false anymore.
Yeah.
Say something.
No, I mean, I think, well, like the Babylon Bee headline today, I don't know if you guys saw it. It was pretty funny. Let me see. It said the Babylon Bee said the guy who said Facebook was not suppressing free speech announces Facebook will stop suppressing free speech.
Right.
Right. The irony here. So
yes.
We're not suppressing free speech at all.
Another point for conspiracy knowers.
Was he lied to by his own staff? I mean, that seems to be the thing. You know, was he lied to by his own fact checkers or own like higher up staff? Here, is he like a lone wolf now?
Well, I mean, this all came to a head in post-2016 results of the election, where everyone who was a liberal said this only happened because hateful people were allowed to share politics on Facebook about how much they hated Hillary Clinton, as if that were a baseless thing to feel. And so they ramped up and shut down the ability to say things that were anti-democrat. That's really how we got here. What's funny, though, is that he says now, in order to gain back trust, he's going to move any content moderation teams that remain to Texas, because people just don't trust anyone from California anymore. Watch this.
We're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams.
Okay, so no one in California can do this anymore, because everyone else who doesn't live in California knows their speech is filtered through California, and California is full of leftist extremists. But I mean, it's an interesting question, though, because you can't move those existing people and move them to Texas. You have to just get rid of the people who are in and from California. If this is a legitimate, I mean, I kind of call bullshit on this as an excuse anyway, but you know, what's interesting about this, Elon Musk moved his teams to Texas. A lot of people are moving out of California because it's so expensive. Is that real, or is he going to take the same extremists and just move them to Texas? Who knows? Now, he says he tried to solve this by removing politics, this bias on the site, because people were just too stressed. But now he's like, look, you guys want to talk about politics. We're bringing this back. Watch this.
Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, while working to keep the communities friendly and positive.
Okay. Positive, they
Positive.
said. Is it? Yeah.
So I saw another meme today where it showed AI of Zuckerberg just like leaning over and like trying to study the homework of Elon Musk, and he's just copying the notes, because you know that's exactly what X has now done. Like your Grok score for positivity, and like, oh, we're gonna now have community notes, and what else can I copy off of Elon Musk over here?
Yeah. And here is where he says that he's going to work with Trump now to push back on censorship around the world, because America is supposed to have been a leader, but he couldn't do that under the Biden administration. Watch how he just, again, drags the Biden administration through the mud, blaming them for what he has done.
Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years, when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it.
Okay, he's going to take it. He didn't when it was costly to him, but now that it's A-OK, he's going to do it. But what would he have done if Kamala Harris had won? Would he just keep going? I mean, that's not bravery now that it's safe.
Right.
I was interacting with some people online today, and I was like, you know what? I want every one of us that was punished for saying things that we should have been free to say to have some kind of badge to show that we spoke for freedom when it was not allowed. Not now that it's allowed. You don't get a badge now that it's allowed. You had to have done it when it was risky or you didn't mean it. And I'm pissed about it. Also, let's not forget. So he's saying, now I'm going to work with the Trump administration. He censored the Biden story, the Hunter Biden laptop story, when Trump was president. So he had, sorry, Clayton said to stop banging on the table. He had the opportunity to work with Trump and he refused. So why this time? Should they get a second chance when he's betrayed us all? And doesn't even matter. Is it too late just because grandparents are on Facebook and nobody else? I wonder. Also, will it save them from the litigation for answering for what they've done? Here's what DC Drano said he was about to be investigated for giving $400 million plus to Democratic election operations in 2020. So he went to Trump and said, well, what changes do you want on Facebook? I'm sorry, that should still happen. He absolutely should be investigated for the money that he funneled into the Clinton administration, into Democrats, into all of this. Well, still want that.
And Elon Musk, even after Elon Musk took over, said, yeah, hey, all the lawsuits against Twitter, bring them on. You know, if they did you wrong,
they should answer for that.
They should answer for it, even though I'm the new CEO. Bring it on. And if you guys were censored,
can't kiss the ring and then be forgiven. No, that's not how it works. I want equal justice under the law. They censored speech. They worked in collusion with the U.S. government against American citizens. Absolutely not.
And do they still have this back door? Do you know that Facebook has a back door? We had Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai on the show, and Dr. Shiva opened my eyes to this a number of years ago, which was that backdoor portal that allowed the government basically to censor Americans going around. They had a one-on-one conversation, backdoor portal that allowed government officials to go right into Facebook and ban accounts, take content down, whether it's about COVID, whether it was about big pharma. It didn't really matter whether it was about the election, January 6th, and they could remove content using this back door that Dr. Shiva pointed out in his massive lawsuit because he was massively censored. And so, I think absolutely we should know if that still exists, right?
But let's talk about the dominoes to fall, because now we have a free speech platform still with the restrictions on X. Now Facebook is saying they'll do this. We still have restrictions on YouTube as YouTube creators. Rumble is a free speech platform. Pinterest was also part of the Twitter files. They were ordered to remove content that was in any way unfavorable to the Democrats. So I'd like to hear from those two companies, YouTube and Pinterest. Tell me what you're going to do different now, because we know you colluded with the U.S. government for censorship. Is that now something that, we saw YouTube at least speak up for free speech in the New York Times article against more conservative creators. That's a start. What about the rules? What are the rules going forward? And for those of us who've been punished before, can we walk that back? When's our apology coming? I'm so curious.
Yeah, Michael Guy in our chat says lawsuits for suppressing the First Amendment. Yeah, for what? Go ahead, Philip.
It wouldn't be suppressing the First Amendment on Facebook because they're a private company. But I think it's interesting that this follows so closely to their absolutely disastrous AI influencer campaign they just tried to launch into Facebook, where they were going to flood Facebook with a bunch of AI generated influencers, and it backfired tremendously. So they immediately pulled the plug on that, and then they followed up with this. I just find that interesting, the timing on these two events.
Right.
Yeah, the failure of the metaverse, the collapse of the metaverse, and now the failure of this AI-generated BS content. So you're going back to your roots of free speech.
Free expression, right. The roots of Facebook was a dating app. So, okay, what roots are we talking about? And I believe we do see currently the courts working out how much the First Amendment applies to social networks, whether they're private or not. And we haven't got around to that yet. So, okay. Anyway, let me know how you feel about that. Are you feeling forgiving? Do you find this very sincere? It is a change, at least in the rules of engagement in the United States alone. Will this, in fact, affect what other countries do? Let me know. Let me know what you think.